That's me. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small slice of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Let's just talk about where you can find us very, very quickly because we have quite a bit of news to get into. And the British Open is heating up thanks to the British weather that decided to get involved. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Search Hot News Talk Radio. If you don't feel like doing that, a little too lazy to move your fingers around and do that thing that we call typing, that's fine. That's fine. You can check us out at hotnewstalkradio.com. All of our social media links are there. You can find us in the TuneIn Radio app, absolutely free in your favorite app store. Simply give us a favorite and press play after you search Hot News Talk Radio in the TuneIn Radio app. And you'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. Now, I've got some British Open news to get to because there's like a lot of things happening. There's people moving up and down the leaderboard. If you are a person that started playing in the evening, you have been wrecked. Mother Nature decided to enter the game of golf as she is sometimes ought to do, and she ruined your life. Jordan Spieth, sorry, ruined your life. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Really good golfers got caught up in all of that. Kevin Na ruined your life. Just done. Carl Schwartzel ruined your life. Still, somehow, a bunch of Americans at the top of the British Open leaderboard, and an American keeps winning the British Open, so there's that. We've got Phil Mickelson at the top, but just behind him is Henrik Stenson, who is doing some historically great things. He's setting a first 36-hole record here at the 2016 British Open, and we're just getting lost in the shuffle of how great Phil Mickelson's been, because Phil Mickelson is a guy who's prone to start hot, and then you're like, okay, if anybody would come crashing down to earth and just ruin all of their hopes and dreams of dominating the British Open, he'd be that guy, okay? And it's nothing against Phil Mickelson, but he's got that reputation of just sometimes his head goes away, he's gone, or he got a tendency to choke a little bit. just a little. I'm not, again, really putting Phil Mickelson on blast. I root for the guy all the time because, like, as many unfortunate things that has happened to that man on a golf course, he deserves some goodness in his life. But we've got a little bit of news to get into, and I have to issue an apology to Tim Tebow. But Tim Tebow, I said yesterday, because there was a story on Deadspin.com. I read the story. I'm not going to take credit for bad reporting, okay? That's not on me. I simply read the story off the internet, all right, which is that Tim Tebow was supposedly speaking at the Republican National Convention, and a lot of people in the Republican Party thought that that was a thing that was happening because they released a list of people speaking at the National Convention, included people like Senator Ted Cruz and Ben Carson and others whose names you might recognize. However, Tim Tebow was also on the list, and Tim Tebow decided to come out today and say, nope, not me. I'm not speaking there. What, you thought he lost Brady and he lost Roethlisberger, he was going to settle for me? Nope, not me. Not me. Tim Tebow also will not be wrangled into any of this foolishness, as he shouldn't. So there you go. I was talking about politically aware athletes yesterday, and if we should encourage that kind of thing. And if you do encourage that kind of thing, then you've got to take everything that comes with it, including opinions that you don't like supporting Donald Trump, which is an opinion that I don't like. And Tim Tebow, not doing that either. So that takes away one of my examples of people saying things that I don't like, but that doesn't change the fact that that's still a possibility because Karl Malone still says horrible things all the time. So there's that. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Another bit of news to jump into before we jump into our British Open breakdown is that Von Miller signed a 6-year, $114 million deal with the Denver Broncos, which is exactly the same deal that he initially turned down from the Broncos, except you know how it works in the NFL. Whatever the number is that they give you, a good chunk of that number is just a bold-faced lie. Like a good chunk of that number exists only in theory. Like Higgs boson particles. They're there. You're sure they're there, but you're not really sure they're there. This time, $70 million of the $114 million contract is guaranteed. That's what Von Miller was looking for. So it's not exactly the same as the original deal. That the Broncos tried to shortchange Von Miller by offering him a deal with like no guaranteed money, which he would have to be an idiot to sign and didn't. And I hate how NFL contracts work like this, but the NFL is structured in such a way that, you know, the NFL, like teams can get away with offering you these contracts that look massive, and then you look at the contract and you're like, no, like none of that money is really guaranteed. For instance, people talk about the $100 million contract the Redskins gave to Albert Haynesworth a while back and how much money they wasted on that. Like $60 million of that was guaranteed, which, to be fair, is still way too much money to guarantee on what it was that they actually got from Albert Haynesworth, which is like nothing in terms of actual production. But it wasn't $100 million of waste. And when you talk about Von Miller and this contract, getting that guaranteed money is huge. You can't be an elite pass rusher like he is and just go out there gambling on incentives. Like, what else do I have to do if I'm Von Miller to get the team that I'm already playing for to give me a contract that I deserve? Be one of the best pass rushers in the league? Yep. Multiple-time Pro Bowler? Yep. Super Bowl champion? Yep. Super Bowl MVP? Yep. And quite frankly, you don't win that Super Bowl without Von Miller, because the other guy on the other side of the ball there was Cam Newton. You need elite pass rushers to chase him down. Pay the guy. Pay the guy. Like, I'm really shocked that this took this long for this team, because they're willing to sacrifice the one thing that like 99% of NFL teams won't sacrifice: quarterback play. They won't sacrifice quarterback play. The Broncos will. The Broncos will tell Peyton Manning, restructure your deal, take less money. The Broncos won't offer Brock Osweiler more money. They'll start the season with Mark Sanchez. Why would they do that? Because they built their team on defense. Well, if you're going to build your team on defense, when it's time to pay the defensive guys, pay the defensive guys. I mean, that's just silliness now. You're not going to force a guy coming off a Super Bowl MVP and having consistently been one of the best players in his draft class into a franchise tag. Are you serious? I mean, I just don't understand that. So I'm good. Happy for Von Miller. Glad that he finally got his money, because the Denver Broncos are doing what all NFL teams do, really, which is just shortchange guys by offering these massive contracts. And then you can turn to the fans and go, look, we offered him $114 million. And I think that we should just be wise enough to this act now to just start looking at that guaranteed money. Like, okay, but how much are you really giving him, though? Because I don't want a contract from anybody where less than half the money is actually guaranteed. Then you're not paying me what you're saying you're paying me. A chance to earn that incentives is exactly that, a chance. And you play a tough sport like football where you blow out a knee, you twist an ankle, you're down for the season, and you've allowed yourself to be franchise tagged. Why would you ever do that if you have the credentials to back up what it is you're asking for? And Von Miller certainly does. Like, way too often we end up in these situations where guys try to negotiate what they don't have the leverage to negotiate. Von Miller has the leverage to negotiate that, and I'm really glad that he didn't sign that franchise tag, because that sets a terrible precedent. Like, that team will just start signing everybody else to just nothing contracts. The only team that can get away with it is the Patriots, because for whatever reason, they keep manufacturing victories. But everybody else, I mean, you got to play by normal people rules. Don't pay me nothing and call it life. I mean, am I wrong here? I don't think I'm wrong. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Let's talk about the British Open. British Open 2016, Royal Troon. What are the British known for? Doctor Who, fish and chips, and horrible weather. And while I cannot confirm the existence of the first two things at the tournament, I can confirm the existence of horrible weather because I watched it. It was bad. When you got golfers trying to golf in raincoats, that's how you know it's bad. Golfers will do anything to not mess up their swing. The swing is the sacred thing. Okay, for goodness sakes. I mean, how many times does Tiger Woods have to change his swing? The swing is sacred. And I say this as a person who does not play golf regularly because I am awful. The swing is sacred. You don't mess with the swing. Anything that can mess with the swing goes, including a rain jacket, unless you're at the British Open at Royal Troon and you really need that rain jacket. It's horrible. Just the worst thing you've ever seen. If you went in the second half of the day, Mother Nature said, excuse me, I'll be taking this. Okay, it got so bad, the cut was at 3 over. The cut moved from 3 to 4 and saved about 6 golfers today. There were some guys that were about to be cut, and the cut moved from 3 to 4 and saved about 6 dudes. I believe it was Graham McDowell was one. Jim Furyk, Brent Snedeker, Danny Willett, Jordan Spieth, and Bubba Watson all made the cut today because the cut went from 3 to 4 at the last second because everybody was horrible. And it wasn't entirely their fault. Nature decided to show up to the golf tournament. And you know what? If Father Time is undefeated, nature is like 99-1. Nature's got 1 loss. And that's, pick a sport like football. You run the football and it's windy. Yeah, nature can't really bother you. That nature can take some losses here or there. Father Time's undefeated, but nature doesn't lose very often. And nature took over this tournament in a way that didn't even make sense. And guys started being saved from the cut. The cut moved from 3 to 4. It saved Graham McDowell and Jim Furyk and Brent Snedeker and Jordan Spieth, who had a quote today that I find very interesting because it's I think Jordan Spieth might have a drinking problem just based on the quote. Which let's go. He said, "I've embraced the challenge of playing in bad weather more and more over the years." Oh, whoops. That's the wrong quote. "We might have caught the rough end of the draw," said Spieth. "That happens. Kind of shook it off to an extent at the end of the round. Just tried to smile. Tried to enjoy the fact that you don't play in this often. You wish your score didn't matter when you play in this. You wish it was just a round with your buddies where you go into the clubhouse and have 1 or 7 pints afterwards." I'd like to focus in on the part where he said 1 or 7 pints. 1 or 7? There's a big difference between 1 or 7 pints. 1 pint takes the edge off of how bad your day was. 7 pints puts you to sleep. 1 or 7? You can't drive on 7. You can drive on 1. You're driving on 7? Are you serious? And we've got a call coming in here. Hey, caller, you're on Clutch with Keon Rose.
I'll tell you what, Keon, after listening to you and Colin Cowherd, I've come to the conclusion that sports guys are probably the most analytical people on the face of the earth.
Well, thank you.
So I'm going to ask you to solve this problem.
Okay.
Because I'd probably put you as my Secretary of Defense. Since Obama and the Democrats and most of the Republicans can't find their rear end without help, they're totally clueless and inept, or I shouldn't say ballless on the air, but what would you do? What strategy would you use? I know this is off the point of sports, but it kind of isn't. If you're in a game to kill people like ISIS because they want to kill you they want to score first, they want to make that 3-pointer first. What do you do analytically to kill these people, to make sure they don't kill you first? Like what do you do instead of treating them like cockroaches, where you just spray the whole house and you kill the bad roaches and maybe the good bugs? There are good bugs. How do you kill the cockroaches that are Islamic militant terrorists? No, I'll listen on the radio. Thanks.
All right. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's Confederate money. Now, here's the deal with this. I am not qualified to be a Secretary of Defense. I understand that full and well. I'll take the compliment of being a smart person. I do like that. I don't know necessarily what the strategy is, because you're looking at a group of people and you're trying not to profile everyone merely based on the fact that they are Muslim. And I don't know that there's a test that you can take. I mean, because the whole point of being a terrorist is that you are in secret lying in wait to terrorize. I mean, that's just really what it is. So when you're in that position, how do you weed out who is trying to hurt everyone and who isn't? That becomes very difficult. But what I will say is I don't think that you can subject a group of Muslims to something that you wouldn't subject every other American to. So if you say, oh, well, let's do stronger background checks, you can't do background checks on anybody who is a Muslim and then leave the Christians and atheists and Buddhists and whoever else alone. You know, you'd have to do it for everybody. And that makes this, that's what makes this issue such an increasingly complicated and delicate issue, is the fact that you can't just hit it with a one-size-fits-all solution. Not every person that you see that is a Muslim is out to get you, okay? And even people who believe in Sharia law, there's like different degrees to where you can believe in that. So the short answer is I have no clue. Like I said before, I'm not qualified to necessarily answer that question, though I did try, because I a little arrogance there. I think I can answer the question, but I don't know necessarily where you draw the line in trying to search for people who are trying to hurt everyone else and those who are not, if they look the same. I mean, I take a look in the animal kingdom. You used the example of bugs. There are bugs that are not poisonous, that look exactly like the bugs that are poisonous, which they've adapted to survive. I mean, it's terrorists adapt to survive. So they're looking to try and fit in. They're not making themselves easy to track down and figure out. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose, sports show. Sometimes I do dabble in a little bit of politics, but I try and keep that to a minimum, only in as much as I'm not qualified. Really. I like to believe that I'm smart enough to know things, but I am not necessarily qualified to answer the deep questions that are troubling the world today. Just try and address them as much as possible. I want to talk about Phil Mickelson's day today, because he did stay hot today. I did mention before, if anybody could have a day like he did yesterday, Phil Mickelson, almost setting a record 62 during the first 18 holes of Royal Troon. He shot a 69 today. It was just another great day. I don't see any chance that he'll let up on all of this, especially if you're going to be playing those first 6 holes. Like I said, of the last 7 British Opens, Royal Troon has the easiest first 6 holes arguably in golf. And statistically, how guys perform there is it's pretty telling. And when you have a person with as much experience as Mickelson's got, it helps a ton. He had a gorgeous shot at the postage stamp today. I saw the shot. He hit it, and it looked like he overshot the hole, and it started to roll backwards and found its way about 2 inches from the lip of the cup. I mean, you almost wished it had gone in for the hole-in-one, but the birdie shot there for Phil Mickelson puts him at the top of the leaderboard. He is 10 under today and just on fire. Not to forget Henrik Stenson, who has an opportunity to be the first non-American in the last, I don't know however many guys. What is it? The last 5 winners of the British Open have been American. The first non-American in about 5 years, Henrik Stenson, the Swede. He's 9 under. He's having an incredible day. And, I mean, just one back of the lead. I like the way that he's been playing. He's been keeping close to Mickelson. I think he's got a chance to pass Saturday, but I don't think that Mickelson's going to let up on this lead because he's just been playing the first 6 holes so masterfully every single day. We're going to cover the British Open a little bit more and get into some talk on what's been going around on SEC Media Days, the last of it yesterday. And we've got some more quotes for you, including some interesting things from Leonard Fournette. Man, I like that guy. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. Next.
Starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. You and I know that real men are prepared for anything. You know what I'm talking about because you're a Take Charge guy. Everyone's talking about Grimm's Tactical, featuring first responder gear, survival gear and equipment, Voodoo Tactical, Leapers. For personal protection, Grimm's Tactical features non-lethal personal protection gear, AR-AK parts, knives, canning and dehydrating equipment. If you hike and camp, Grimm's Tactical has got what you're looking for, bags and packs. And for your side piece, concealed carry holsters for men and women. Plus, Grimm's Tactical carries a wide variety of freeze-dried food. Wise Mountain House, Backpacker's Pantry, Grimm's Tactical, where law enforcement shops, Safari Lane, Blackhawk, 511. First responder gear at Grimm's Tactical. Grimm's Tactical, 8115 East Brainerd Road, in the shopping center next to the Walmart Marketplace. Look for the Mighty Mini U-Haul office. Grimm's Tactical is right next door. Grimm's Tactical, 8115 East Brainerd Road. Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
A few lingering showers will continue through the nighttime, diminishing late, otherwise muggy, lows near 70. For Saturday, still a bit unsettled with scattered showers and thunder showers, mainly for the afternoon. Highs near 90, a little hotter and drier. Only isolated storms on Sunday, highs lower 90s. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world-famous sauce. Open daily. Locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm Sports Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A train was derailed, dumping thousands of gallons of diesel fuel on the ground and almost killing a truck driver. His cab was torn from his vehicle and thrown 50 yards away from the scene of the crash. The train conductor and engineer also suffered minor injuries. Norfolk Southern is investigating the crash to determine what exactly happened. Cleanup crews were on scene trying to clean up the diesel fuel. They should be finished by now. A Chattanooga attorney was shot in Catoosa County after a family says he entered their home uninvited. Police say he threatened the couple and threw potted plants at them. When they asked him to leave, he wouldn't. They fired a warning shot. When he wouldn't leave after that, they fired another shot into him. He was found by police in his car suffering from a gunshot wound. Why he did what he did is still not known. And Hot News Talk Radio remembers when terror hit home here in Chattanooga with the July 16th terror attacks that killed 5, now known as the Fallen 5, and to remember how the community came together following that attack. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
After 544 days of nonsense, silliness, and buffoonery, Tom Brady finally gives up the fight. Deflategate's over. Finally. Right? Like, I've just been waiting for this story to come to an end. Like, you think of all the memories that story has given us, and they're not pleasant. It hasn't been pleasant. Can we be honest about this? Deflategate hasn't been a great experience. It's been a lot of repeating the same stories over and over again. Should the commissioner be judge, jury, and executioner? Like, we covered that story like the first month in, and then we realized, like, oh, yeah, that's not interesting at all. And we don't know how much longer of this there is. And then Brady got the date postponed, so he got to play for the season, which is great because they ended up basically being a play or two away from being in the Super Bowl. You take all the advantages you could get, but I didn't care for that story. Like, we just stopped talking about that here for the last however many months. Like, I saw the story come up in the Newswire, and I was like, nope. If the story in the Newswire is not telling me this is over, I don't want to talk about it. Just boring. So that's done. Tom Brady's going to serve his 4-game suspension. He's done about all that he can do there to try and make that possible. The NFL Players Association can probably continue the fight if they want to, but why would you want to? You allowed this in the CBA. You know who voted against the last CBA? The only locker room who voted against the last CBA, and by an overwhelming margin, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 76-8. And they're the ones that, you had James Harrison gloating on Twitter talking about, you're the ones that gave him this power. We didn't vote for that. Yeah. Players need to become aware of what's happening in their own bargaining agreements, because especially NFL players. I don't know what the deal is with NFL players, but you guys have been getting some raw deals and catching some L's that didn't have to happen. Like, you're angry about the money you're getting, but then why'd you sign the CBA? You're angry about not being able to appeal to a third party, so why'd you sign the CBA? Like, all of these things were pretty straightforward in terms of the consequences that they would have later on in the line. You didn't have to sign the CBA. They just dangled just a little extra money in front of you. Not even enough money for you to be happy. Just a little extra money in front of you, and you just threw out the whole, Roger Goodell is a tyrant thing. Just forgot all about that. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. The story that's been sweeping America, Pokemon Go. I'm not really going to cover the story. I'm just going to talk about the one lazy dude that's been driving around in the parking lot around here playing Pokemon Go in our parking lot. And I don't even know what to say about this guy. He's playing Pokemon Go in the parking lot from his Jeep. I don't really want to cover the story about how a bunch of nerds who like Pokemon suddenly discovered exercise and the outdoors one day and started playing Pokemon. Like, that, that's not the story. I'm just talking about the guy who is playing Pokemon Go, whose one benefit, because I don't know if you've listened to this station earlier this week, Russell on his show, Best Shot, was talking about people playing Pokemon Go. Your information is just being taken and sold, and in all likelihood, just being sucked up by the government. You're playing a game for free. What, you thought it was free? No, they're selling your information. That's how they're making money. But anyway, the one good thing coming out of Pokemon Go is a bunch of people accidentally exercising. And then here's this schlub in our parking lot driving around in his Jeep, literally removing the only positive from this game in his life. Exercise, or would-be exercise, because he's driving around. Buddy didn't even get a bike. Buddy drove in his Jeep. Come on, man. I just don't get it. I went to the gym yesterday. I'm sorry. This is how I get exercise. I go to the gym. I run in the park. I play basketball on the weekends. That's how I get exercise. I don't I don't need my phone to help me with that one, except to, you know, be a timer between reps. I'm not gym guy. I'm not dude bro. I mean, I don't even have a problem with nerds, really. I read a ton of comic books. I just don't understand the Pokemon Go thing. I just don't get it. You're listening to Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. I do have some more notes from the British Open 2016 because there have been some more weird things. And I have like one thing I really want to talk about because there's a lot of people pick the older, more experienced guys to win this tournament, which I think makes sense. Just given the way that they've performed even so far, it is a lot of the older guys that are at the top of the leaderboard, Phil Mickelson being one of them. Your Rory McIlroys, your Jordan Spieths, they're a little lower. Okay, fighting the elements, that just takes experience. This particular golf course can be very tricky. I talked about Phil Mickelson's shot at the postage stamp. If you mess up at the postage stamp, you're basically trying to hit a green that's surrounded by 4 very large bunkers, and you will ruin your day there. You'll just ruin it. That's an experience thing. That's all that is, you know. So I understand picking the older guys, but this desire to see Sergio Garcia win the British Open, I do not understand. I understand why people would want him to. He's never won a major. He's been a solid to even above solid golfer for his entire career, and he's never won a major. Like, you want to see guys win stuff. Like, I rooted for the longest time for Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook because I hate to see guys not win things. When I was a kid, one of my dad's favorite players was Patrick Ewing in the NBA. He never won a championship, and I remember that kind of being a sore point for us. Is just, wow, Ewing didn't win one? You know, especially in that playoff game against the Pacers where they had an opportunity to go to the Eastern Conference Finals and possibly even onto the NBA Finals after that. And Patrick Ewing at that point, his knees just weren't enough to carry him at that point. I want to see guys win. And I want to see Sergio Garcia win just as much as anybody else. But somehow, guys, they're just picking Sergio Garcia to win this tournament. And, you know, he's not playing poorly. He's 4 under. He's tied for 6th. He's definitely in it. But, you know, I'm just reading the follow-ups, and people are like, oh, look, Sergio Garcia's still here, so maybe there's a chance that he'll win it. I think it's just more likely that Phil Mickelson goes wire to wire. If anyone catches Mickelson, maybe it's Henrik Stenson, who's been playing historically. You know, I just don't think that we should let our love for the underdog and our desire to see a guy get a win at a major tournament overrule the logic of, like, what has Sergio Garcia done lately that makes us believe, yeah, he's on the up and up and he's going to win this thing. Because I haven't seen anything. And I watch a lot of golf. It's one of my favorite sports. It's the most passive thing that you can have, but also the thing with golf is that something is happening all the time. Something is happening all the time. If somebody's doing something, you jump to the next hole. As soon as they hit their shot, you jump to the next hole. You're always seeing something happening on a golf course, which I like. You think people with short attention spans would actually like golf because you're always hopping around to see whatever is happening at the next hole. Golf, to me, I mean, people say golf is slow. I don't see it. Golf's not a slow sport so far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I understand wanting to see that, but wanting Sergio Garcia to win a championship and saying Sergio Garcia is definitely going to win the British Open, that seems to me to be a little bit of a leap of logic there. Are we just going to keep picking him until he wins? Is that how this goes? I don't actually know how this handicapping golf tournaments before the tournament goes. Like, the field is so large. And I remember back in the days when Tiger Woods was dominating. This is why Tiger was so great for golf. Because you had those conversations where it's just like, are you taking Tiger or are you taking the field? That was such an awesome conversation to have. And because you could legitimately just pick Tiger all the time. Tiger or the field at the British Open this weekend. Tiger or the field at the Masters. That was a great conversation. Like, golf needs somebody to dominate. And we don't have anybody capable of dominating yet. I think Jordan Spieth's got the talent to dominate, but I don't think he's there yet. I think Rory McIlroy is close to a point where maybe he's got the talent to dominate, but he's not there yet. And you see a lot of really good guys in the bunch where you can't really pick against Dustin Johnson regularly or Matt Kuchar or a lot of these great golfers. Like, they're good guys. But, like, when it comes to this guy's got that tournament in the bag, we don't have any of those. So how do you do this job of picking a golf tournament before the tournament starts? When you're just good, like, there's a high likelihood that you're going to be wrong. And so many people picked Sergio Garcia. Like, I typed in Sergio Garcia's name just to do a cursory Google search, and there were 5 or 6 articles at the top talking about how Sergio Garcia was going to win his first major tournament at the 2016 British Open. How do you figure? Because you want him to? Because that's not a way to analyze anything. That is horrible analysis. I think Sergio Garcia is going to win this because I want him to. Yeah. And I want Pat McAfee to be president of the United States because I don't want Hillary or Trump. What do I get for that? What do I get for that? Like, I want the libertarian to win, so I'm going to what? Just analyze that person's going to win? No, it's a Democrat or a Republican all the time. Always. Until one of those parties fractures and divides in half and gets replaced by another party, it's going to be Team Donkey or Team Elephant all the time. And as much as you might like Free Talk Live that comes on after Clutch with Keon Rose in the next hour, as much as you might like libertarians, they're not winning the election. Okay? It's not happening. And Sergio Garcia, maybe he wins the tournament. I'm not saying he won't. The first 36 holes of the British Open determine nothing. Only one in the last 4 people at Royal Troon in 36 holes of leading have actually gone on to win the British Open. Like, being the leader after the first 36 holes at Royal Troon doesn't mean anything. So I mean, this is far from over, but at that same token, I don't think so. I just don't think so. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News, Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I like Leonard Fournette. I like Leonard Fournette for a number of reasons, one of which is that he's a humble guy. And I know I've been on this show as saying multiple times that I like guys with swag. I like guys that are a little bit cocky. They're fun. They're fun to talk about. They're fun to watch. Okay, Russell Westbrook, Cam Newton. Fun to watch. And, you know, Robert Griffin III, when he was at Baylor, that was absolutely fun to watch. Vince Young at Texas. I mean, guys with a little bit of swagger are more fun to watch. What I like about Leonard Fournette and Leonard Fournette's humility is that I believe it. That seems to be legitimately who the guy really is. The thing that I like about guys who tend to be cocky and arrogant is this. They're comfortable in their own skin. That is who they are. That's awesome. If you're a guy and you're humble and that is who you are, yeah, man, I'm all for it. Where you start to run into a little bit of trouble with me is when you start to do that fake humble. The humble that, like, nobody believes you. I don't want to hang out with you because I don't even know what you're about, man. Russell Wilson, J.J. Watt, those guys. When you start doing that, I'm not impressed by it. Like, Russell Wilson sounds and feels to me, and I could be wrong because I don't really know the guy. I'm just saying based on the appearance of the humility, he's so phony. And, you know, he had that commencement speech that he gave at the University of Wisconsin where he talked about how the coach at North Carolina told him he'd never play football there again because he was too small and he was leaving for baseball. And then the coach of North Carolina was like, what? North Carolina State, rather. He was like, what? I never said that. I never said that. Yeah, because you're a little phony there, Mr. Wilson. Just a little. I don't want phony. A little bit of phony is too much phony. I don't want it. Leonard Fournette is the kind of humble that I like. That seems to be legitimately how that dude operates, right? Volunteering his time and helping people with the floods at South Carolina and understanding that, when you went through a similar situation in Katrina, that you've got to turn around and help others. That's legitimately how Leonard Fournette seems to be going about his life. And they asked him about being the best running back in the SEC. Like, who's the best running back in the SEC? And Leonard Fournette said Nick Chubb is the best running back in the SEC. And I believe him for saying that. I just believe that he means that. I think Leonard Fournette, for all it's worth, is the best player in the nation. I know. I thought he should have won the Heisman. I understand all the reasons why he didn't. A lot of people were saying down the stretch, he got contained a lot, and he didn't have that signature game that you were looking for, even though I don't think it's a matter of having the signature game. It's definitely a matter of when the signature game happens. You want that signature game to come a little later in the season with a little bit more on the line, because his signature game was the Auburn game that happened early, where he about ate 3 Auburn players, just consumed them in one play. We couldn't find those guys afterwards. I don't know their names anymore. Almost erased from history. I mean, he ran through 3 guys like they were not there. If that's not a signature game, what is? Like, what appeases you once a person does that and can't win the Heisman? To me, I don't know what appeases you. Like, the only thing that it takes to win the Heisman beyond that point is to just be a quarterback. Because I don't know what gets to you at that point. He just ate 3 guys. So he didn't have the signature game late in the season. That was Leonard Fournette's real problem. That, and when they played Alabama, it looked bad. It looked bad. The other teams late in the season, when people started keying in on Leonard Fournette, you just stack, 8, 9 in the box and just go, you know what? We're going to force that quarterback to beat us, but we're not going to let Leonard get us. And you know that LSU really has their struggles throwing the ball a lot. It got pretty ugly. But the Alabama game was the worst because Alabama didn't even blitz. I watched that game in something between amazement and pure horror. Alabama did not blitz to stop Leonard Fournette. They played them straight up. Just 7 in the box. Every man to his assignment. And just beat Leonard Fournette and LSU down on pure power. And what do you do after that? Like, what do you say after that? I don't think that that's a reason for a guy not to win the Heisman, especially if that team ends up going on and winning the national title. Then to me, I'm just like, okay, they're just the best team. And we know how good Bama is on defense. Okay, like every year, a million guys get drafted from that school. They're all their offensive linemen and then a bunch of their linebackers. Right? Like Reggie Ragland last year. That guy was amazing. That guy was absolutely amazing. If you're going to stop Leonard Fournette, you have to either put 8 or 9 guys in the box or be Alabama. Come on. Like that doesn't get you more consideration. I get it. Like, that guy was ready to be in the NFL last year. That guy deserved to be in the NFL last year. It's crazy to me. And he's representing the kind of humility that makes sense. If you defer to another person, if you say, hey, I think another guy could be better than me, and you name the specific guy, and that guy actually is in the conversation of people better than you, I like that. I do. I think I like it a lot. I'm going to be rooting for LSU in a lot of games this year. Okay, that's just a fact. It's just a straight up fact. I am a big fan of Leonard Fournette, and when it comes to watching certain sports, especially football, the NFL, and college football, and the differences between the two, the college football has just gotten so pass happy. It's refreshing to see teams use the running back in the same way than you watch the NBA. I mean, people have fallen so much in love with the three-point line. It's a little refreshing to see guys just attack the basket or just use their bigs a ton, the way that Cleveland did. I feel very, very strongly that when you have a guy who's humble, he just has to really be that genuinely. And I believe that Leonard Fournette's like the real deal on that. In a way that you hear J.J. Watt say things that sound like they came out of a motivational poster. Just, I work hard, I play hard, I eat hard. Okay, JJ, cool. Cool, dude. I don't know what to make of that guy. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Speaking of people I don't know what to make of, because I know a lot of people also picked Steve Stricker in the British Open. Just jumping back to the British Open. One last note from the British Open. Steve Stricker was a guy that a lot of people picked. He is 10 back of the lead. He's even on the day. And he's had easily the weirdest day in the entire tournament. Steve Stricker, who was 4 under yesterday, and a guy who picked up a little bit of steam in terms of popularity for winning this tournament. 17 pars today and 1 quadruple bogey. So, like, I don't even know what to make with that. Kyle Porter is the one that wrote that note there on CBSSports.com on the British Open. I read that and I still don't know what that means. How do you manage that? 17 pars and a quadruple bogey. You managed to do nothing until the moment that you did something, and the one something was just the most negative thing you could have done. Like, not one birdie. Not one birdie. Just like, dude, accidentally knock one of those in there. And I understand the weather was rough, but man, not as rough as this looks on a scorecard. How disheartened do you have to be to see 17 pars and 1 quadruple bogey? One hole ruined your whole day. You could have been tied for 6th. Now you're tied for 14th. How much does that stink? And what do you even make of that? I've got no idea what you make of that. Like, I look down at the scorecard on that one. You just throw your hands up. That's it. I don't know what you do there. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Make sure to check out David Tulis on YouTube. He talked about fluoride in the waters of Chattanooga. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. I'll see you in 72 hours. Free Talk Live next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Sugar Tuesday is an exciting prospect at Shooter's Supply and Range in Hickson. Hold your breath and squeeze. Shooters waives the membership fee. If you want to shoot any Tuesday, you pay only a $10 range fee, half the price of other gun shops in the area. And another exciting bullseye, on Tuesdays only, enter a drawing. It's for a free $50 gift certificate.